Right, in this video, I want to finish up chapter 6, Buyer Beware. So let's pick it up on page 135, Buyer's Remorse. Unfortunately, you will buy some things that you will regret. Now, it'd be nice if that never happened, but it's going to happen. And when you make some significant purchases, I mean, it affects you emotionally, psychologically. You might start sweating or whatever, blood pressure rise. But a significant purchase is normally anything over $300. Now, obviously, that depends maybe on your age and what your income level is and so on. But that's a pretty good thing, $300. All right. Buyer's remorse is when you wake up the next day and wish you hadn't bought it. But listen, it's not a bad idea that if you want to buy something, $300, $500, you think about it for 2 or 3 days. I mean, do you have to have it today? Chances are you don't. So you might want to just think about it. All right. And then, of course, we've all had that. We're all a little spoiled, right? Got to have that new fishing rod. I got to have a new phone. I've got to have new clothes, or I haven't bought a pair of new shoes in 2 years, or. And that's just being immature. I don't care if you're 40, 50, 60 years old, you can be immature. I got to have it now. I mean, you try telling a 2-year-old that they have to wait, that doesn't go over very well. All right. And if you have babysat a 2-year-old, you girls, you know what I'm talking about. All right. Or maybe you have a 2-year-old sibling. That doesn't work. 3 years old. All right. That's immaturity when you can't wait. Now, when it comes to spending, adults devise a plan and follow it. That's all we want you to do. We want you to come up with a plan. I know we're spending a lot of time talking about college. We've talked about buying a car. Come up with a plan and then follow it. And when it comes to big purchases, the right way to do it is save up. Now, if you'll recall, we have a checking account and our debit card. When we swipe it, it comes out of our checking account. Except we're going to run the debit card as credit. All right. Then we're going to have an emergency fund. That's probably going to be in a money market account. Then we're going to have a savings account. And the savings account is where we're setting aside money every month because one day we're going to need tires on the car. We'll need to replace the brakes. We'll have to get the oil changed or whatnot. Okay, could be something else. And I'm just using the car expenses as an example. So we're going to be funding 3 accounts on a regular basis until we get the emergency fund to where we want it, and then the money will go just to savings and a checking account. All right. Now let's look at section 3 on page 136, and let's talk a little more about the opportunity cost. And we've got to develop power over purchase. Now, it's always easy to spend more than you make. Listen, I know people who make 6 figures, 200,000 and more, and they're broke. I know someone makes over 200,000 and they've got, I don't know, 60, 80,000 credit card debt, school loans. I know people making 150,000 that have 250,000 in school loans. I mean, it does. I know people say, well, if I made more money, well, I know, but sometimes if you make more money, you spend more money without discipline. So you must develop the power over purchase in your notes. All right. It really doesn't matter how much you make. And I've already mentioned you want to wait overnight, or I would say 2 or 3 days before you make any type of a major purchase. All right. I mean, I think, look, if you want to go out and buy a Slurpee at 7-Eleven, I don't think you have to wait overnight. Okay. That's just, okay, if you want one and you go get one. Okay. All right. Number 2, consider your buying motives. I mean, why are you buying that new TV? I mean, no amount of stuff equals contentment or fulfillment. Uh, Yet sometimes people get happiness and fun confused. Now I know it feels good. You're happy. You walk out of the store. You're like, wow, I've been wanting that for so long. It makes me happy. All right, and so on. Well, I don't know. Maybe that will work out short term for you, but you can't just buy these things. I mean, America's the richest country in the world. I don't think we're that happy, honestly. Um, uh, so happiness is where you are right now. All right. So let's just be happy where we are. Let's be content. And we may not have everything we want, but we'll be all right. Now, number 3, never buy anything you do not understand. That's how we're going to talk about insurance and investments later. You only buy one type of insurance. I mean, for life insurance, and that's term life insurance. If you're buying stocks, you don't buy things you don't understand. All right? You don't buy XYZ Corporation that you've never heard of and you don't even use their product, but you know what? You got a tip from somebody. No, stay away from all that. We're going to buy stuff we understand. Okay? Number 4, consider the opportunity cost. And I think I already mentioned that a few minutes ago, previous video or two. It just means that if you spend your money here, you can't spend it over here. All right. So there is an opportunity cost. All right. And in fact, I heard the story of a guy who bought a Mercedes. Well, actually, this is a while back, and he wanted to buy, I think, a 1996 Mercedes for $40,000, and he decided not to buy it. So he put money in a mutual fund, invested in the stock market. So he put $40,000 in the stock market, didn't buy the car. And several years later, that Mercedes was worth about $4,000. But guess how much his $40,000 was worth? $300,000. Did you get the picture here? He could have spent $40,000 on that car in 1996, or he could invest it. Couldn't do both. Now, had he bought the car several years later, he would have a $4,000 car. But he put his money over here and invested it, and several years later, it was worth $300,000. He was sure glad he didn't buy that car. So once again, it's an opportunity cost. So listen, when you're buying stuff, seek counsel. I'm amazed at people who don't ask others advice. I knew a young couple, and he had all kinds of crazy ideas. And I asked him one time, I said, "Well, who have you talked to? I mean, where are you getting your advice from?" And he kind of hem-hawed around it. So he went off, chased this rabbit, so to speak. It eventually broke up his home, went through a divorce, and I'm like, man, he was on the right track, but he got distracted by something over here, and it just messed up his entire life. I mean, so seek good counsel. What's it hurt to ask 4 or 5 other people? What do you think about this? I've got some ideas. I thought about buying this. I thought about doing that. No, get some good advice. It pays really, really good dividends. All right. I'm going to skip over page 137. You could fill in some of the chapter summary things. I mean, we've all felt a little peer pressure maybe to buy something. And then there's some opportunity cost exercises. Let me run through the money in review on page 140. Now, if you want to pause the video, that's fine. Work through it. Because it's going to mean a little more than me just reading numbers and stuff off to you. I mean, I want you to at least read it, look over it so we know what we're talking about. All right, but I'm going to run through them right now. Number 1 is letter E. Number 2 is C. 3 is F. 4 is B. All right, and number 5 is letter A. 6 is D. 7 is H. And 8 is G. Okay, because that was the last one. It had to be G. Now, on the multiple choice, as a consumer, that's you and that's me, you should consider inflation in your investment and retirement planning. True. If I have time, I will talk more about that when we get to investments, okay? Now, if you don't have cash on hand, number 10, financing a significant purchase is a good option. False. We're not financing anything but a house, okay? Number 11, which of the following is not a need? Eating out. That is a budget buster. Number 12 is the letter D. Number 13 is the letter B. And the short answer, you can work through there on your own, all right? But and what we've talked about, what you've read through the chapter, and you'll be able to answer those on your own. Number 18, you already know these. I'll just give you a few that I wrote down. Peer pressure, brand recognition, immaturity, and needs versus wants. All right, we'll see you next time, and we'll get into chapter 7.